Yeah, to start with, what is IoT? IoT, as you all know, is Internet of Things. First of all, when I saw the syllabus, when I saw that this subject was introduced in the 8th semester, I was really very excited and was very happy that finally some practical subject is added to the syllabus. But when I looked at the syllabus, I was more of disappointed. Why? Because the subject is all theoretical and there is absolutely very, very little practical knowledge in this. Out of all the 5 modules that we have, only one module is practically based and all the other 4 are completely theoretical. So that disappointed me a lot. In fact, IoT is more of a practical subject where there should be a lab associated, but unfortunately, we don't have that in the syllabus. So that was the reason for my disappointment. But then somehow this subject is now there for the syllabus. We have to study this subject and we have to pass this subject. When it comes to passing the subject now, how easy or how difficult it is to pass this subject. The subject is theoretical, and whoever is good in writing theoretical subjects, this is very easy to pass. And you can even score good marks in this subject. There are some standard set of questions that is asked in the examination, which if you study, it is more than sufficient to pass this subject. And more or less, there are 2 modules which are very, very easy, and 2 modules which are a little more theoretical. It contains a lot of diagrams and all that, so you may feel that studying those modules will be a little difficult. But then overall, if I say the subject is easy to pass, no problem at all, absolutely no problem. I will share my screen now, in which I will show you the syllabus for the subject. Now, you can have a look at this subject now. This is a subject that we will be studying. The subject code is 15CS81. Please remember it. The subject code is 15CS81. In your case, I think it is 17. It will be 17CS81 because you are the 17th king. And 17 scheme subject, the subject code has changed. The subject name is the same, the syllabus is exactly the same, no problem, but the subject code is 17CS81 for you people. Okay, please remember it is 17CS81. Do not make a mistake there. Now, going on further to learn, what will we be learning in the first module? You will also be very disappointed to know that this subject contains only theoretical knowledge. There is absolutely nothing practical, but except for the 5th module, in which we will be learning something practical, and that also only writing programs. That's it. There is no lab work. There is no term works. There is no lab associated. So hence, this is equal to theoretical knowledge only. But fortunately, some of them are doing their internship in places where they are learning IoT. They are getting exposure to hardware devices, which is very good. And remember, this IoT is the future. It will change everything in the future world now. All these new technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence, IoT, they go hand in hand. Okay, please remember, they go all hand in hand. And that's the reason why you will have to train yourself to become good in basic programming languages. Then you have to be good with IoT. You should not say that since we are from the computer science department, what are we doing with hardware? You should have definitely knowledge about IoT. Then you should have knowledge about machine learning, artificial intelligence. This it's very important that you have knowledge in all these things, because finally, when you completely become an engineer, it is important that you become interdisciplinary engineer. You should have knowledge about hardware, software, any type of software you should be good with. You should be good with standalone applications. You should be good with web application development. You should be good with machine learning, even with image processing. You cannot be experts in all these technologies, but you have to be good in these technologies. You have to remember that. Okay, so now let us discuss about what is there in the syllabus. The first module here contains only introduction to IoT. What is IoT? What is the genesis of IoT? Genesis in the sense the inception of IoT. We will be learning how did it started, what are the basic components of IoT. Then there are 2 very important things here as far as examinations are concerned. IoT network architecture. Now, IoT network architecture there are 2 different types of architectures that you will be studying. The first is a simplified IoT architecture, IoT architecture, and the core IoT functional stack. Okay, so these are the 2 architectures, 2 important things that we will be studying in this module. okay, which is always asked in the examination. But basically in this first module we are going to study about what is IoT, the introduction to IoT, exactly how many modules are there, how many layers of IoT are there, what is the architecture of IoT, and of course what are the challenges that are being faced by IoT and all that. Okay, so this is what we will be studying in the first module. In the second module, we will be studying a little more detail. We will be studying into the different smart objects of IoT. Smart objects of IoT includes what is the meaning of a sensor, what is the meaning of an actuator, what are computing devices, okay, computing devices like the microcontrollers, the microprocessors and all that. So we'll be studying theoretically what are all these things. If there is a sensor, what is the work of a sensor? If there is an actuator, what is the work of an actuator? Okay, and finally we will be studying how these components, when we develop, how will they communicate, how will they first of all connect with each other, and then how will they communicate with each other. This is what we're going to see in the second module. So second module is basically about smart objects. How do we design and develop smart objects? Smart objects contain sensors, actuators, and the controlling unit. All that we will be studying in the second module, of course all theoretical. Then in the third module, we will be studying about how we are going to use the IP, the Internet Protocol, to communicate between the devices of IoT. Okay, so we will be using IP as the IoT network layer. So in the network layer of the IoT devices, how we are going to use the IP is what we are going to study in the third module. So basically this complete third module is based on your the network layer of network protocol. If you remember your computer networks, you must have studied your OSI model, okay, in which there is one layer called as a network layer, which is basically responsible for the networking between two devices. So we will be learning exactly this network layer in the IoT. Okay, so this is completely theoretical. And then of course we will be learning in the fourth module the combination of big data analytics with IoT. Since I was telling you that IoT is completely based on, you have to have interdisciplinary knowledge. You cannot say that I'm just an IoT. You should also have knowledge about big data. You should have knowledge about data warehousing, data mining. You should have knowledge about machine learning. Okay, you should have knowledge of all these things. Only then you will become a complete engineer, and then you will be able to develop good applications in IoT. Okay, so this is what we will be studying in the fourth module. Okay, data analytics for IoT, exactly how data analytics we can use in IoT. One simple example, if you want me to give at this point, is that you can develop a small sensor device, okay, which has communication capabilities, which is continuously sensing what is the current temperature, and it is logging it into a database. It is putting that into a database, and this data is going to be collected after every 1 minute. So after 1 minute, one device is going to keep the data in the database. Let us say we have such 100 devices. So 100 devices after every minute will be keeping the data in the database. A lot of data will get collected, and then from this data, then we can run our machine learning models, and we can generate some useful information. Basically, this is what we can give an example right now, where we can combine two technologies and develop something more smart. At this point of time, I may not be able to tell you exactly how that temperature data will be used to generate useful information, but finally, why is data analytics required in IoT is that example. A lot of data is getting collected in the database. You have to apply big data tools on that. You have to apply machine learning tools on that and generate some useful information. So basically, this is what you will be learning here. Which are the different types of big data analytical tools and technologies? What is the meaning of edge streaming analytics and all this? Basically, all again theoretical. In the fourth module, this is what we're going to learn, and then finally in the fifth module we will be learning some practical things. This is the module where we will be learning IoT physical devices and endpoints. IoT physical devices and endpoints is the module where we will be getting introduced to the Arduino Uno. Okay, what is the Arduino Uno? How to install the software, the fundamentals of programming. Okay, fundamentals of programming means whenever you write a program for Arduino, you write the programs into a particular format. You always have a loop function there and you have a setup function there. So what do you write in the setup function, what do you write in the loop function? So basically that is what we are going to learn in fundamentals of Arduino programming. And then after that, IoT physical devices and endpoints, in which we will learn what is the Raspberry Pi. Okay, introduction to the Raspberry Pi. Okay, then we will be learning about the layout of the board. Then we will learn how to write programs on the Raspberry Pi. And then finally, we will be learning to write one program which is very specifically given here, how we are going to interface this sensor, DS18B20 temperature sensor. We will be learning how to interface DS18B20 temperature sensor with the Raspberry Pi. Okay. And we will be determining what is the current temperature. So you are going to write this program, accessing temperature from DS18B20 sensor using the Raspberry Pi. Okay, and this question is always asked in the examination. They will ask you, write a program in Python to interface the DS18B20 sensor with the Raspberry Pi. But unfortunately, you know what? This is all theoretical. This is all theoretical. If I just teach you the program and if you go and write the program in the examination, you will get full marks. But actually doing the connections and then actually finding out the temperature and doing it, almost everybody will fail in doing that, because if you just know how to write the program, that is not sufficient. You should know how to set up the Raspberry Pi, how to actually remotely access the Raspberry Pi, and then how to write the programs there, where to make the connections with the sensor. All that you should know. When you do it practically, only then you will have a appreciation to that subject. Okay, so this is all again theoretical. You will be learning this as theoretical. There is no lab associated. So we will be learning one thing, that how to access temperature using 18B20 sensor with the Raspberry Pi. So the fifth module completely depends upon two things, two technologies, Arduino and the Raspberry Pi. Arduino, we will be learning only basic things. Raspberry Pi, we will be going into a little more detail, and we will be interfacing the DS18B20 temperature sensor with the Raspberry Pi. Okay, and then finally we will be learning about the smart cities. Okay, we'll be learning about smart cities, again theoretical. They will ask you what is the meaning of a smart and connected cities, then what is the role of IoT into smart cities, on all that. Okay, the smart city architecture is another thing which is important from this particular module. Okay, this is all theoretical. Once we finish the fifth module gets over, then we will be finally, this is what will be the course outcomes. Okay, at the end of the course, you will have an understanding of what is IoT. You will understand the fundamental architecture of IoT, simplified architecture of IoT, and then you will learn about sensors, actuators. You will learn about the IP protocol to be used for communication. Then you will learn about the role of data analytics in IoT applications, and then finally you will understand Arduino and Raspberry Pi. Now, which are the textbooks that you have to refer for this? There is one textbook, that is David Haynes. Okay, this is the author is David Haynes and Gonzalo. These are the authors for this book, and the name of the book is IoT Fundamentals, Networking Technologies, Protocols, and Use Cases for Internet of Things. Okay, so this is the book that you will have to refer. IoT Fundamentals, Networking Technologies, Protocols, and Use Cases for Internet of Things. Okay, so this is the book. One more book is there, Srinivas KG, Internet of Things. Very little is there from this book. Almost the complete syllabus is from this first book only. Complete syllabus is from the first book only. Okay, only the last module, that is about Arduino and Raspberry Pi, that comes from the Internet of Things, which is written by Srinivas KG. So these are the two books that you have to refer. I have a soft copy of this book. I will give it to you. I have a soft copy of this book, David Haynes, IoT Fundamentals, all that, I have a soft copy with me. I will give you that book. I will share it with you. So you can see, this is, let me just make it a little, yeah, this is that book, IoT Fundamentals and Use Case for Internet of Things. It is written by David Gonzalo and all that. Okay, so the complete book in PDF format is there with me. Okay, the complete syllabus is there. One second.